Hey guys, it's Mo. Today, I have an Emerald Amethyst versus Ruby Sapphire matchup analysis. But not just any Emerald Amethyst versus Ruby Sapphire match. Today, we are going to look at my round number 5 at North America's Continental Championship against one of the strongest Ruby Sapphire players in the entire world, Dinkin Pham, a player who has qualified not only for North America's Continental Championship, but Europe's as well, and just being a scary consistent player across the board. Going in to Nationals, I struggled with my red-blue matchup. It was one of my worst matchups. It was 50-50 play-draw the entire time in testing. And today, I'm going to show you how a few cards changed, and a different approach to Maui Half Shark has really secured not only my day 2 placement, but a 100% win rate in day 1 against Ruby Sapphire. Let's go into the matchup. So here we are in game 1. This is round 5 of NA Continentals. I am against Dinkin Pham, or DKP as I'll call him for the most part through this video. One of the best red-blue players in the world, very well known for this deck and very well known for being a pioneer of this strategy. I have won the dice roll, and we've made hand alterations at this point. So I'm going first. I know the matchup because we played next to each other the round before, but also, like I said, one of the best red-blue players in the world. Cards I look for in the mulligan here are a Merlin Rabbit and as aggressive as I can find in a 1-drop. Cursed Merfolk being the most ideal one. We see I ink a Kit Cloud Kicker and play the Merfolk. Kit's not an ideal card in this matchup. Usually I want Hiram Flaversham to be questing, and that's about the only thing you can return anyways. A Develop Your Brain out of DKP here. Mostly not an ideal start, but it's better than missing his 1-drop entirely. Lets him sculpt his hand. Getting a quick 2 lore from the Cursed Merfolk. I pretty much guaranteed the 4 lore from it this game, so that's really nice to start off with. And let's see what I ink here. Ink a Pegasus Shift, that means I probably do not have the smaller one in my hand. And play 2 1-drops that translate into draws. Strong opener out of me. This is what I go for every time against red-blue if I can. Now, we got a little hand cam action. I'm always hiding mine because I really just want to be invested into what my opponent's doing that turn. Asking cards in hand, I believe I have 3. So, let's see. He's thinking about what he inks. I'm seeing a pretty powerful hand out of him. Inking of a Super Goof and playing a Tipo to ink his... He's got a heavy ramp hand. He honestly needs to value his resources pretty aggressively here because he wants to ramp into that Maui Half Shark you see in his hand as fast as possible, if he can. So, they asked him something about changing the way that he exerts his ink. I saw the Super Goof, so I know that's something to potentially respect on the next turn. Obviously going to quest for 4. Lets me push up to a 6 lore lead off the get-go. And what do I play here? What I'm looking to play sometimes is a bounce to protect my Cursed Merfolk, or at least force them to brawl it. I'm looking for just ways to continue the aggression, or simply just a Prince Philip. It's guaranteed 2 lore at this point, and sometimes can even get more than that. And Prince Philip allows you to keep damage counters on your opponent. So if he was to attack it with a Super Goof, it would leave that 3 damage that I could potentially go on the next turn. Seeing the sale come out, he really wants to get that Be Prepared active, as well as the other high ink cards in his hand. So he can double ink here, and still play the Brawl to eliminate the Merfolk. Which is a strong play, but a costly one, because it's really lowering the cards in his hand at this point. Well, I have quite a bit of ability to float here. There's probably some considerations for him to be brawling my Magic Broom instead, because I only have the 2 cards in hand. but I think he does go for the merfolk, which I feel like is correct. He did have to think about it, but the Diablo will translate to another card, and we move on into turn 4. Turn 4, at this stage of the game, we've seen him ramp up pretty quick. He's at 5 ink at the moment, so 6 ink is Sisu Shift to be scared of, occasionally Medusa. But realistically, it's not a big, scary time. What I want to do here is play a genie or a rabbit, and really just think about moving forward from here. How do I want to move into the later stages of the game? I quest with the broom first to really think over if I need to pop it or not. Usually at this stage, I would let it sit, because the Maui, if the Maui was to come down, or the Super Goof, would be prioritizing the Prince Philip, leaving it a pretty unpunished quest, but I think I do decide to go ahead and draw here. Get another broom for my trouble, and I push forward to 9 lore. Doing pretty fine. Got a rabbit on board. He has accelerated his inkwell very well. I think we see a pirate life drawn from Den here, but he really needs to answer that Prince Philip, so he plays the Maui from his hand. 3 damage counters is always fantastic for us, and we see a pirate's life inked here. That is massive. That is 1 down. He has ramped forward to his 6 ink turn, and as you can see, I've had the Ursula Deceiver in my hand for a few turns at this point. So this is the turn where she comes out, and she gives me hand information. If I rip the Be Prepared and there's only 1, I can go a little crazy here. And we see the Sisu and the Be Prepared. So he needs to draw Inkables for 2 straight turns just to be able to play this Sisu. So I take this as one of the last turns I can freely go wide. We see I have Bounce and Goat in hand, and not even a top deck Be Prepared would get him out of this lore coming up, because he needs an inkable card. So I'm allowing the Maui to take the rabbit, which does remove the damage counters from the Go-Go, but, at this point in the game, I just need to get as much lore as I can as fast as possible. And the rabbit draw is not bad. Another Pirate's Life inked here. Definitely not looking good for DKP in these next couple turns. I draw a Cloud Kicker. I know the 1 card in his hand is Sisu, and that he must draw an inkable to be able to play that card. I go with the Goat, go up to 12, pop the broom, and draw another card. That broom's been on the field for quite a few turns, if I remember correct. We quest for 3 to go up to 15. I have the Bounce in hand. I have a Cloud Kicker that's a pretty free ink. I think I have a Merfolk. I do have a Merfolk and a Chernaboggs. Either could be a decent play here, just because, but I think I do not risk it. If he gets the inkable, I don't want to get punished hard by the Sisu. And there she is. So she comes down. The Tipo probably quests here. Not a huge turn. This game's getting out of control very quickly. He does decide to quest. And once I show the Fox in my hand, I believe this game is pretty much over. I draw the White Rose. Definitely a solid draw. And the Fox to bounce puts me up to 17. And I think once I show him the Rose, he forfeits pretty close to immediately. No, he doesn't even let me get the Rose out. So, let's talk about that game real quick. My goals for that game in particular were to really just abuse red-blue on the draw. The biggest thought process in that game was, this is my advantage game. This is the one where I want to push it. Play draw is very powerful in this matchup in particular, and just really did not want to lose this one, because if I was going second while he was on the play, he already told me he 2-0'd a green-purple earlier in the day. We had talked about our matchups a little bit previously, and it was a little intimidating. But, you know, I mulliganed correctly. I found my triple 1-drop opener. This is one of the matchups where that shines so bright. And the biggest thing to remember is they're not always going to have everything. And if we play our answers to what they do have, the game's going to feel really unfair really quickly. I ended up he had a Be Prepared, he had a Sisu, he had a Maui Half Shark, and he had a Brawl. He had all these things that can be just insurmountable, like terrible for us, but while he brawled my merfolk, I had two things questing on the side. When the Sisu came down, I had a Merlin Goat on the field at that point. Right before the Be Prepared came down, I had an Ursula that had been in my hand since the early turns of the game that I prioritized keeping for that precious 6 ink moment. And I was able to come out ahead here. Game 2 is a lot more interesting. So when we approach this matchup as the Emerald Amethyst player, we really have to, we're the aggressor, we're an aggro deck, almost hyper aggro, but we have a decent scaling into the later turns of the game. Even against red-blue, we look for plays like our Goat Bounce, our Prince Philip Bounce, and just find ways to squeak out lore when we can. The instant lore is what really gives us the edge in this matchup. But Game 2 is a bit of a different story, and we're going to see exactly why. Are you tired of getting bullied by this card? No more. Visit my Metafy to access my Emerald Amethyst guide, meta posts, and one-on-one coaching. If that's not your thing, stop by and just interact with the community I'm building there. It's a great place to get a different outlook on how I like to approach the game. Anyways, enjoy the rest of the video. So, mulligans on the play. Mulligans on the draw. I really just want to see the same exact stuff. I want Cursed Merfolk, I want plenty of 1-drops, I want as aggressive as an opener as I can possibly get. And then what I don't want to see is Tipo, I don't want to see an early Maui Shark, and I don't want to see a heavy ramp. And I do believe we encounter a lot of those here. So, we're seeing something inked. McDuck Manor inked and Popsicle to draw a card. Drew another Popsicle. So in my hand, I believe I actually have the Chernobog followers here. I can't quite see. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't have it just yet. Oh, wait, there she is. Okay. Or not the Chernobog followers. I believe I have the Cursed Merfolk here. I can't quite tell. I decided to lead with the Pegasus because I know a bunch of red-blue players will be prioritizing Tipo instead of Sail the Azurite Sea. Here the Sail comes out and makes me feel a little silly, but not too bad in all honesty. At least my Merfolk did not get immediately answered. If I have it. Quest for 1. Pegasus is not as fast as Merfolk, but it's a very consistent, safe way to get the job done. And then we see I have the other 3 draw 1-drops in my hand, and I think I'm choosing to keep as many of them as I possibly can, because I want to get my board as wide as possible, as fast as possible. So there's the Merfolk, and there's the Chernobog's followers. Could have played the Merfolk on 1 and been 1 lore ahead of where I'm at right now, but still don't feel too bad about it. He could have always just played the Super Goof there to deal with the Merfolk. So, you know, Pegasus is never a bad play on turn 2. Goes for the Tala, advances his board. I'm going to quest with Chernobog, and I do pop him. I do decide to pop him here because I think I have a Madam Mim Snake in my hand, and I'm planning on bouncing my Merfolk to replay. And then I quest up and decide to go to 5. And I do believe this is the turn where I bounce Cursed Merfolk and replay it. So what does this accomplish for me? If DKP has the Brawl, then he's going to Brawl it. And that's honestly not the worst case scenario for me. That means he only has 2 ink to play, so he would need something like a Visions of the Future. And I'm still gaining another 2 lore from my other characters here, if he chooses to play the Brawl, which I believe he's going to, looking at his hand. Double Pirate's Life, double Maui Shark in hand. Spoiler alert, we see every Pirate's Life in the deck, I think, by the end of this game. Thinking long and hard about whether or not to keep the Super Goof. Basically just deciding Super Goof versus Brawl here. I don't know which is correct. I do believe he decides to Brawl the Merfolk, but I could be mistaken. In these turns, in the 4 or 5 ink turns, we're still very... the best way they can deal with our threats is by challenging them. And if we have these evasives and these bounce to dodge the challenges, we scale pretty well into it. But he is definitely ramping up to that Maui Shark. There's the Brawl. And I don't believe he has the 2-drop to follow. Here he's debating questing the Gamechops. Chooses not to. I would probably prioritize removing her from the board because she's an extra singing target. Here I have an excellent draw of Olaf. I kid, it's not that amazing of a draw. I choose to play the Merlin Rabbit, get an extra card. I found the Ursula, which will be able to answer a potential Be Prepared coming down. But I think we're going to see that this game goes in a different way. A Pirate's Life inked, you always count those. You always remember when those come down. And then a Maui half shark played. Very scary turn to see that come out so soon. So here, how do we approach this? We first take note of what is in our opponent's discard. In this case, he has a Sail the Azurite Sea and a Brawl in the discard. So Maui half shark can swing into Pegasus, add back the Brawl, and answer my Rabbit on the next turn, which is pretty significant, but not entirely over the top. He also has a way to clear everything on the board at this point by swinging this shark into the snake. I elect to play another Rabbit. I did not think it was time to go hunting for songs with Ursula. I feel like even if he has the Pirate's Life, that Ursula's best played in response to him adding it back from the discard. He could play it on the spot, but he's not in a position where it's going to make a notable difference in lore, and neither am I. So, inking a White Rose, definitely a tough decision to ink, but I really wanted to ink it here. And I believe I play that Cursed Merfolk in my hand. Yep. Quest everybody. I'm willing to give him the Brawl back or the Sail the Azurite Sea. I think that's a fair trade for the 3 lore. But soon we're about to see it get a little bit over the top unfair. So here Den is attempting to draw more cards, find more answers, and just really push his game state. Debating swinging the half shark in. He does swing it into the Pegasus, removes it. 1 damage counter on the Maui shark. A very relevant damage counter, as we will learn as this game goes on. Gets the Brawl back. Inks the Sail and plays the other Maui half shark and eliminates my Rabbit. Now there are 2 sharks, and things start getting very scary. Here he pops a Popsicle to heal his Gamechops, but leaves the other 2 and leaves the damage counter on the Maui half shark. This is something he wants to probably get a higher value out of his Popsicle heals than just the 1, and there's not a decent way to threaten here either. Rub the card on the table, because that's what you gotta do at this stage in the game. Here, I think I do decide to finally play out the Ursula, so I can see exactly what I'm dealing with out of his hand. I see a Be Prepared, a Pirate's Life, and of course the Brawl that we knew about. Not a long decision at all. Look how fast I made that. I want those Maui sharks off the field. If they go, he's only got 1 to 2 more in his deck, and I can take over this game. So I leave him to be prepared, and now I just have to navigate how to correctly approach this Maui Shark situation and try to force the be prepared out of his hand without leaving me completely out of the game. So a Sir Hiss and the Diablo, and I decide to stand. We're both counting lore. I believe I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so I can push up to 17 on the next turn. This turn, if I went sideways, I could only push up to 14, which would basically equal out the turn with the Pirate's Life. Keep in mind, he's gaining 4 lore for every Pirate's Life he draws. So here he draws into, I can't quite tell, oh, it's the Super Goof, so. And then I would have been in a really bad way if I played into the Super Goof, because that's just a lot of lore coming out. Brawl's my Merfolk. I was heavily debating questing with the Merfolk and giving him the Pirate's Life back, but I decided it was too risky a move with both sharks on the field. So, let's take just a second and pause. What am I doing here? What am I trying to establish with my game plan here? How am I approaching these sharks? Because obviously there's a be prepared in the hand. I cannot just put 10 lore on board. I cannot just put 10 lore on board and say, answer me, because he'll just play the be prepared and I'll be out of the game after losing so many cards. So what am I searching for? Right now, I am looking for a pull the trigger card. This can be a bunch of different cards. This can be Merlin, something as simple as Merlin Crab, where I can boost my Sir Hiss and remove the full health shark from the board, which would make the double sharks far less scary. This can be something like a bounce card, where I can quest with a rabbit or something and bounce it and replay it, just to advance my game state into scary territory without losing too many resources in the process. Now, this can also be a form of instantaneous lore. Something like Merlin Goat is decent, but really what I want to see here is Go-Go Tamago, because that just allows me to absolutely rip the trigger on this. So, questing, still protecting that Grammatala because he wants to value his singer, and I have 2 easy trades into her with the Sir Hiss or the Madam Mim Snake that I would be very glad to do. Even something like a Lyle Tiberius Rourke wouldn't be too bad here. So we get the Super Goof coming out. I believe a Brawl was played. Yeah. So he's at 7 ink at this point. And we know his in-hand card is Be Prepared. So what is the worst case scenario for me here? I think would have been him inking the Goofy and drawing into a Sisu, Emboldened Warrior. Would have been the absolute worst case. So here, he quests with the Tala and plays down the Super Goof. The Super Goof puts me on an even bigger lock. I cannot still go sideways into the Super Goof because he will add back the Pirate's Life, go up 4 from the Pirate's Life, and another extra 2 from the Super Goof. That is 6 lore that would swing him to 11 and put him ahead in the race at this point. It's just not something I can do while Pirate's Life is knocking me down lore at the same time. So I still don't have my pull the trigger card. I determined to bounce the Goof back to his hand and play the Sir Hiss. I have 1 card in my hand at this point. I do have 2 draws from the Merlin Rabbit and the Diablo, if he does decide to pull the trigger on the Be Prepared. But he's too good of a player for that. I'm only representing 2, 4, 6, 7 lore still, so I'm pushing up to 17, pushing up to 17. Here he counts it out again, and I believe his draw this turn, no, his draw next turn is the worst case scenario for me. This turn, I can't see what he drew. It might just be another Brawl. It is another Brawl. Here we go. I believe he takes out the Ursula for threat of the shift or the potential bounce replay, which is very strong against Maui Half Shark and removing the Be Prepared option. He quests forward again, and goes up to 9, I believe. And so here he's coming down to, should he play his Super Goof or keep it as ink? And I don't think he should play it. This is a discussion we had at the match. You could definitely play it out, and I have the Kit Cloud Kicker to bounce it once again. But I think keeping it in case you find your way to the Sisu shift line is how you win this game. Like, otherwise, I just get to sit there and not have to answer things for a solid amount of time. But he does end up, I believe, 1 or 2 lore short, so you never know. But I did have the answer into it. And he didn't know he was going to draw what he's going to draw next turn. So here you can tell, you can see the look in my eyes. I finally drew what's going to pull the trigger. Sir Hiss and the Go-Go. That's going to put me up to 14. And then now it's time to go sideways. This puts me at 19. Here, he's at 7 ink. And there is, at the moment, I only know of 1 Pirate's Life. And there's only the ability to play 1. Now, I decide to go sideways because here, through his board and through his Super Goof in hand, I am able to present game around the single Pirate's Life that I know about. He drew a second one. Absolutely terrifying spot to be in. We're doing the math. We're trying to figure it out because I've given him the ability to get second. But the thing is, he's only at 7 ink. He does not have a way to get the Pirate's Life back from the yard and play both. There's no way to do it. He can get 1 Pirate's Life back from the yard, and then he can sing it. And even if he plays the other one, I still just have too much on board. He needs to eliminate more threats here because I just have enough to push forward to game. So there's no way to play both Pirate's Life and still be prepared the board. So he is 1 lore short, which is massive as we learn. There's a lot of ways we're thinking through this turn. This is a very long turn to decide what really should be played here. And there's just no way to play it all. Yes, the Pirate's Life is one of the best draws you could ask for. If he saw it the turn before, I had lost this. Very likely. But he did not. And now, sometimes, when you're in a position like this, when you're approaching the Maui half shark, 1, 2 of them, this game, I had survived, this is Pirate's Life number 3 that he drew. And sometimes you just gotta tell yourself they can't have every possible out in the world. They play cards like the Super Goof, like the Brawls that have been played on me relentlessly this game, because they have a purpose. And these cards are all detriments. So even though he did not draw the Sisu to blow me out of the game here, he also would have had to sacrifice another card he did draw to get it. So here he's thinking long and hard. In my head, I'm just fearing the double Pirate's Life because I haven't even done the math yet. I'm just terrified. And he gets back the single Pirate's Life. He sings a Pirate's Life, which will put him forward to, I believe, 14. And put me down to 17. Quest with the Tala to go to 15. And then plays the Be Prepared with all of his ink. And that also ties him up at 17. This game is still not over. So, now that the Maui half shark situation is done, let's take just a second to talk about it a little bit further. What do you do here? It's a bad position to be in. The worst thing you can possibly do is let them tell you what they want you to do. He wanted me to quest. He wanted me to go sideways so he can start freely getting his actions back and being able to really just pressure me out of the game with Maui half shark, like the extra lore. He's tied with me at 17 here. This is potentially like one off. If he didn't play the Be Prepared, he would have ended at 19 if he played the other Pirate's Life. Just a fascinating turn that I really just took so many things going right for me, but also there were so many things going wrong. If there was the Sisu shift instead of the other Pirate's Life, I would have been in a position to win. Here, now that the Be Prepared finally comes down, I'm getting to draw off of my Diablo, off of my Merlin Rabbit. I drew from the Diablo from the Maui swing, but I just needed to wait for that trigger to go, and the go-go was the way. And let's see how this game resolves. Here, it's still anybody's ball game. You see a Pegasus in my hand, an Ursula, and 2 Kit Cloud Kickers. Wow, what a hand. Ideally, I want to put up lethal on the board, so I start with Ursula so I can see what his hand contains. It is the Pirate's Life that we know about and the Super Goof, so we take the Pirate's Life, and then here we ink a kit, we play a kit, and we play a Pegasus. If he top decks exactly Sisu, we lose the game. He's at 8 ink, and Sisu would just be too much pressure. We don't have a bounce in our hand. In fact, that's our entire hand. But we see that Visions of the Future, and we know this game is ours. Just an absolutely brutal game. If he finds the Brawl here, he could answer something like the Pegasus, and that would cause me to have to stand another turn, just because I would have to respect the Super Goof coming down and try to just end the game again, depending on what I drew. That is still GOAT territory, but he's taken a long time to decide, which is interesting, but I don't think there was certainly no Brawl. It would have had to have been the 4th Brawl, because that's all the amount he had left, or the Human Sisu. Hiram comes down, gets 2 cards, and that's all she wrote. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Like, subscribe, and do you hear that? Oh my gosh, is that... No! Anyways, keep an eye out for Maui Half Sharks. It is set champ season after all. And until next time, I'll catch y'all later.